And actually, because I mentioned something about mana, I want to just quickly touch on this. I know Basil is just as excited about this as me. Bard, the mana management specialist. So Stephen kept saying, we need a bard, we need a bard. I have no mana, we need a bard. And so that gives us a hinting at what the bard's role will be within the party composition. And Xenotex on the forums says, I wanted to open a topic on the Bard, given the multiple mentions of Bard being responsible for mana management in the recent fighter showcase, which I thought that was really cool that he could also kind of get some mana back for himself using a skill. So it's not 1000% needed to have a Bard at all times, but I bet that would have been a lot easier on him. He wouldn't have had to use that skill if they did have a Bard. And so those are like some of the trade-offs of like not having a Bard in your party versus having a Bard in your party. But the discussion that this person wanted to open up and focus on is countering mana whack-a-mole and making it so Bard isn't just a continuous source of free mana, and that protecting your Bard and countering debilitating effects that would impede the Bard's ability to give resources will be just as important as defending your cleric. I like that. What are your thoughts?
I first of all, I want to say that I'm extremely excited to have Bard back in a game, in an MMO, because yes. I love Bards. In DAOC, the Bards would offer speed to the group, which was a very cool thing. So they'd play their instruments and your group would be faster. So when you're running around the open world, that would help out a lot. So they were wanted for that. Mana regen is great, although I just wanted, if I remember correctly, Steven's mentioned it before with the Bards, as far as the way they're going to generate stuff is going to be a little bit different. I think they said, and quote me if I'm wrong, that or correct me if I'm wrong, that they're going to have to do some damage, melee damage or something like that. They want them involved in hitting things to, I don't know, create buffs or abilities. I don't want a Bard to sit back and just passively be able to give mana, or else we're going to see a mage sitting here AoE farming with his bot alt sitting here giving him mana, the whole time without doing anything. I want the Bard to have to do something to be able to regen that mana for that player. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, but I am excited to see Bards back in the game. I think it's going to be a great, and I hope they are in every group. I mean, look, there's 8 people in a group. Why not? There absolutely should be a Bard in your group. So,
thank you. Cheers.
Thank you, Pocket. And by the way, welcome in Demon Soul Games. Those of you who don't know him, he's one of our buddies. Super awesome guy. Plays a lot of fun stuff and is finally convinced. I believe we finally convinced him to join us in Ashes. Took us long enough. Like just 2 years.
Just like Ownthington said, don't underestimate the multi-boxers, because that's absolutely a thing. And we've all seen 8 people running around in WoW. So
Yeah, but I mean that's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be with every class, to be honest. Like, I want a fighter that has to do stuff besides just push attack buttons, because that's all the fighter had to do is push attack buttons. They have plenty of resources, right?
Yep.
Any class can be said to just become a pocket bot.
Sure.
But I think it fits kind of right in line with what I was thinking Bard was going to be. They're going to be the buffer, the straight support class, like tossing out things that are going to help people. It's kind of like the antithesis to what somebody said Warlock does in World of Warcraft. They said, I don't kill anything. I help cause death is what I do. I don't kill anything. Like, none of these things are my kills. I'm just sowing things out there that are helping everybody else destroy it.
What would you guys think about a Bard offering speed to a party? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
That wouldn't bother me.
I mean, it even sounds...
That sounds like what a Bard would do. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not ridiculous speed, but maybe like 5-10% faster for the group party so they can get around a little bit more. And if you don't have one, you're, it's going to be a little bit more advantageous for you in a PvP setting. So
Paranaut says, I want loot overhead smash augment for main fighter Bard.
I like it.
But Yeah, I believe a lot. Bard should be the lord of the buffs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so, like giving back that mana and stuff, that's going to be just as important to me as healing, because some of those buffs are going to help healers not have to heal as much. I'm going to imagine, right? Reduce damage incoming, which means that I don't have to heal as much. So there's going to be a game of who do we need to protect? Keep the supports like going. I feel like a good number of the 8-man groups are going to see one bard and one cleric combo.
And he did say that the buffs right now are only 30 minutes, and that food is a possibility to maybe extend them longer. However, one question before I get into that: if a bard casts a buff on you, how far should you be allowed to get away from the group before it becomes null and void, or should it stay on you for the half hour? So if I die, cast buffs on myself, and then run away, should I be able to do that, or should I, like a buff bot, or should I be able to have to be in the presence of the bard?
I mean, no, I think a buff is a buff. It stays on you.
Stays on it? Okay. Yeah, so like a buff bot version.
Yeah, I've never really liked the whole, like, unless it's legitimately an aura. Like bard would cast it on themselves.
Okay.
And they hold the buff, and then they can move around a battle to provide that buff to an aura around themselves.
Because that was a big problem in DAOC. People would buy separate accounts and make a druid and or a bard and create a uber superior buff bot, and then they'd get their guy, buff them up, and then run them out and go kill stuff. So that was the problem with that.
Yeah, that's no different than walking around town for 5 minutes and saying, "Hey, I'll give you 50 silver just to cast a free buff on me."
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah,
I'll give you a big thank you if you just cast a free skill on me real quick. I'll eat. Hey, I even have one I can cast on you too.
Some things I want to highlight from what the chat is saying, so that we don't lose them too much.
Yeah.
Sun methods. Well, actually, Pocket Star says, "I'm so curious about the bard comment. I noticed that cleric have a skill to imbue the weapon to restore mana, and if I'm going to be playing a fighter, and fighter has one that regens mana HP on hit, I'm curious if I would need a bard." And I already kind of like hinted my thoughts on that, which is that I think that you're going to need a bard. It's going to be more efficient for you because that's a skill that you're not going to need to use in order to keep fighting. Maybe there's another augment that you could add on to it. Instead of giving yourself more mana back, it's maybe dealing more damage, or maybe it's the trade-off is the like the healing, like negate, and then Sun Method says, "I hope there's something like focused casting where a bard can give an area buff until they get smacked and break focus." And that seems like kind of like maybe an aura almost, right? Stern says, "No matter how robust you make the bard, don't underestimate the multi-boxers," which is what we were talking about earlier. And my favorite is he was mentioning, I hope offensive focused bards make groups terrifying. Good inspiration is hard to shake long after you are far from the source. And this is like 100% true, right? If you have a good conversation with someone and you feel really good about that conversation, that stays with you for a good period of time, right? So if I'm getting ready to go into the gym and I'm getting pumped and I'm getting like that inspiration of like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym, we're gonna have a great day, like I get in the gym, I work out, I'm feeling it, I'm still feeling happy like an hour later after that. I had a good gym session,
That's when I come outside to a flat tire.
Oh no. The bard is my therapist, absolutely. For anti-bard, dispel, negate, or cleric mage. Yeah, I could see that as well.
No. You know what I also think of when I think of bard is if you can imagine some of the scenes that I'm recalling from some movies where somebody can like see in the future just a little bit, and you just see them walking around like a chaotic battlefield or even just a random room, and they're like making minor adjustments to this and they're moving this just a little bit, and then immediately after just things start happening and you absolutely see why they moved those things. I'm just imagining a bard as the type who would be, dancing around combat, playing their lute, just trying to build up their rhythm, and just casually doing things like that, just looking over at a tank and just casting a little bit of a defensive field or something on them, and then kind of spinning around and pirouette and cast a mana restoration thing on the healer, and
kind of what you're talking about their Virtek, like the Bard, maybe his aura be interrupted, stuff like that, if he's hit and stuff like that. Same with the healer, if they did, add some kind of interrupt factor like that. But we forget that, if I'm not mistaken, tanks are going to have a guard ability, yes? So that should, if you have a guard on you, I would like to think if the tank is close, if it's close. I don't like the current beam, I think that is the guard right now. I don't like that. But if the tank was like in physical range of the healer, well, like he had a shield up or something blocking for it, then the healer should not be able to be interrupted. I think would be and that would be a way to help protect our healers. And it's a way that's worked well in the past. And I hope that they institute something like that as well in this one. I don't know. Sorry to interrupt you. Just that came on the top of my head and just went out with it.
All good.